Today I'm going to tell you all about Nightmare Quest, the new Warcry set, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to paint the main terrain piece. Welcome everybody, my name is Peter and this is the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Today I'm going to walk you through another Games Workshop set. Now Games Workshop are very kind because they send me these sets for free. I must point out, however, that of course I don't charge them anything for these videos and my opinions are always my own. I've been playing Games Workshop games since, well, the early 80s, the start of the 80s, and I enjoy them a lot. I play all kinds of games and you'll find lots of different videos about games on this channel, from Euros all the way up to Games Workshop type games and everything in between. But this one, we're going to concentrate on the new one for Warcry, the new set for Warcry. It's called Nightmare Quest. And this one pits the Questor Soulsworn, who are the Stormcast Eternals, versus the Flesh Eater Courts, who are the Ghouls. I wonder what it was like at that first meeting at Games Workshop headquarters where they got together and said, from now on, all of our names are going to be two words put together into one name. And everyone said, that's a great idea. Well, despite the tongue-twistedness of your average Games Workshop game, this is another lovely looking set. And Warcry, I've said before, is a really good system. And the good thing about it is that it's simple and straightforward and it's a kind of pick up and play kind of thing. You can, of course, play campaigns with it. You can play an interconnected series of scenarios. You can develop your warband. You can do all that kind of stuff. But I never have time for that kind of thing. I play one-off games, and this is perfect for this because it has these great cards, this good card system, and you can literally just draw from a number of decks to set up a game and start playing straight away. It even shows you where to put the terrain, which I just think is just great. Now, we've had quite a few sets now set in Ghur, the land of beasts, and more specifically in the treacherous Gnarlwood. And of course, all the terrain in these sets has featured these fantastic fleshy trees and this kind of bamboo platforms and rope bridges and things like this. While in this set, some of this terrain is, of course, reused from some of the previous sets. The feature is this brand new pyramid thing, and it's actually called a Realmshaper Engine. Yes, there's that two-word thing again, Realmshaper. It's a gorgeous piece and paints up really well, as you can see. And later on in the video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to very, very quickly and easily paint this terrain piece so it looks really good. So like all sets, we have two brand new factions. Now, the first one are the Questor Soulsworn, and they're basically Stormcast Eternals. This is my only slight disappointment with this set. Would have liked to see something a bit different than the old Stormcast Eternals. You know, no matter how much you do with them, they sort of come across as a little bit samey to me, you know, with the big look with the armor and the cloaks and all that kind of thing. So, you know, the Questor Soulsworn are a sort of specifically extra special bunch of Stormcast Eternals sent on specific missions. And in this case, they're going in to try and rescue the Realmshaper Engine from destruction by the Flesh Eater Courts. Now, the Realmshaper Engine is like a terraforming engine. It was on the spaceship that crashed into the Gnarlwood and created the Gnarlwood, and most of Ghur, really. And Sigma is worried that if this engine is destroyed, that it's going to unleash terraforming madness on the land of Ghur. It's a bit like that Star Wars film, you know, which one is it? Wrath of Khan, where, you know, the Genesis engine is going to unleash its power, you know, that kind of thing. So the Questor Soulsworn are charging into the forest to stop the Flesh Eater Courts, who are basically a bunch of ghouls. But they're a little bit different, the Flesh Eater Courts, because they actually are under the influence of a curse, and they think that they're this glorious chivalric court doing good deeds and everything, but what they actually are cannibalistic ghouls. Ugh, horrible. Well, they're, for some reason, wanting to come in and destroy the Realmshaper Engine. So that's the basic point of conflict of this set. And of course, there's a sequence of scenarios and two campaign arcs where you can play out this battle between the Questor Soulsworn and the Flesh Eater Courts. Phew. So let's have a closer look at what you get in this set. Well, of course, every set starts off with a warband tome. This one's called Might and Madness, and it tells you all about these two factions and the background behind this particular conflict. You've got your usual lovely photography and, of course, pictures of the painted miniatures. And then when we get into the rules section, well, the good thing about this is that we have 2 campaign arcs. Now, one of them is a 2-player campaign arc called Storm of Madness, which pits these 2 factions against each other. The other one is called Realmshaper Wars and is for 4 to 6 players divided into 2 teams. Both campaigns last for 3 battles. You've also got 3 specific quests for each of these warbands, and of course all the specific rules for each of these factions and the new terrain. Now, as I said, you've seen most of this terrain before. These 2 large tree and platform pieces have been in previous sets, and there are also 5 pieces of scatter terrain which you've seen before. However, then you've got this wonderful Realmshaper Engine. Now let's have a look at the rules for this one. The walls are obstacles. If a fighter is on the stairs or walls of it when the activation ends, they fall. You can stand on the top platform of the Realmshaper Engine, but if you have to do a falling test for some reason, you fall on a 1 to 3 instead of a 1, so it's slightly perilous. The other thing that's great about this terrain is that it's a kind of king of the hill scenario, because if there's only 1 fighter on this highest platform, they can use a special ability called Power Unleashed. And that means they can pick a terrain feature visible to the fighter, allocate D6 damage points to each fighter within 1 inch of that terrain, then allocate D6 damage points to the fighter who's on the platform. However, if they have the Seraphon or Hunters of Huanchi rune mark, they get D3 damage points instead. And if they have either of those rune marks and the Priest or Mystic rune mark, they don't take damage. So the best thing you can possibly do is to get a lone Seraphon Priest up the top of this platform, casting damage out to all and sundry all over the battlefield. Let's have a closer look at some of these miniatures. We've got the Quester Prime, the Soul Sworn Knight Relictor, the Errant Questor with Grand Hammer, the Errant Questor with Grand Blade, Errant Questor with Grand Spear, the Errant Questor with Grand Axe, and the Errant Questor Duelist with Twin Blades. Whew, try and say all that very quickly. They, of course, have a whole bunch of special abilities, and their reaction is Swift Retribution. So if they're targeted by a melee attack action, after the damage is totaled but before it's allocated, if it's enough to take this fighter down, pick another friendly fighter, and that fighter gets a bonus move action or bonus attack action. So they work well as a team. Next up, we've got the Royal Beast Flayers, led by the Royal Flaymaster. We've got the Beast Flayer Baron, the Ghoul Gore Squires, some Ghoul Trackers, and a couple of Offal Hounds. And their reaction ability is Tenacious Hunters. After a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch of this fighter makes a disengage action, allocate D3 damage points to that fighter. Yeah. So once you get in combat with these Beast Flayers, it's not a good idea to get out of combat. I really like the ghoul figures in this set. They've got a lot of character and they look really nasty. Probably the best ghouls I've seen from Games Workshop. Again, Stormcast Eternals, nice as always, but nothing particularly special. Though I do like the guy with this skull mask. Okay, let me show you how I painted up the Realmshaper Engine terrain. I started with Sons of Horus Green and then painted all the glyphs in Runelord Brass. Now you can do this relatively roughly, you don't have to be really careful because you're going to be washing and detailing this later. Once that's dry, give the whole thing a wash with Agrax Earthshade, and when that's dry you can do a bit of dry brushing with Sybarite Green and mix in a bit of White Scar for just the very lightest dry brushing. Detail all the vines, leaves and trees with Wildwood Contrast paint, and when that's dry you can use Elysian Green and Blood Reaver Flesh to highlight the leaves and wood. I've also painted on bits of Nicolac Oxide to give that oxidization effect on the brass. And remember, when you're painting this central energy source, be sure to paint it in separate pieces before you put it all together, otherwise it'll be impossible to get to all the detail. All the bamboo parts are super easy to do with Skeleton Horde Contrast mixed with a little bit of Creed Camo and Snakebite Leather for all the ropes. Then finally, of course, you've got your reference cards for all the miniatures, your 2 main reference cards with abilities on the other side, and a deck of cards for setting up your scenario. So you've got your twists, your victory conditions, your terrain setups, all that kind of thing. Love the way Warcry uses these cards. Now, I must apologise, I didn't have time to paint both of these factions, but I've actually received a whole lot of stuff from Games Workshop at the same time, which is a lovely problem to have, I'm not denying. However, I also get it very late before the actual launch date because I'm down in New Zealand, so I really have time to paint up everything that I'd love to paint. And also, I'm working on something a bit special from Games Workshop that's taking all my attention just now. Well, folks, that's it. Nightmare Quest for Warcry. More of the same, really, terrain-wise, except for this gorgeous Realmshaper engine, which is going to be a feature in a lot of games, I think, from now on. It's really, really nice. Also, the great thing is that now I've got a few of these sets. I've got quite an extensive collection of this gnarlwood terrain, and really I could fill a 6x4 table with it now, which is going to look fantastic. And I really want to get a big battle report of this together. So many things to play, so little time. I'll paint up these two factions eventually as well, of course. But in the meantime, I'm on to the next Games Workshop set that I've got to show you. So much stuff at the moment. Never fear if you're not into Games Workshop. I will get back to lots of other different types of games as well. I'm always covering a wide range of games. So don't worry, I haven't turned into a Games Workshop only channel. There's just a lot of good stuff coming from that company at the moment. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really, really appreciate it. And check out my website because you'll find rules and references for 440 odd games, including Games Workshop games like Warcry. Oh, and don't forget to check out all my social media channels as well and follow me on those. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.